Close your eyes and think of the moment the world changed forever. Most of you are probably thinking of January 9th, 2007. A man in a black turtleneck stood on a stage and promised to reinvent the phone. He introduced a device that combined a music player, a phone, and the internet. But what if that moment wasn't the beginning? What if I told you the real smartphone revolution happened 15 years earlier? Long before apps, before fast internet, before touch gestures became second nature, there was a device that already did it all. It had a touch screen. It could send emails. It had apps. It even used a stylus. Today, we're going back to the early 90s to uncover a forgotten invention, the world's first smartphone. This is the story of how it was created, why it was ahead of its time, and why the world wasn't ready for it. To understand how revolutionary this device was, you have to understand the world of the early 90s. Mobile technology barely existed for everyday people. If you wanted to make a call outside your home, you used a payphone. Cell phones existed, but they were bulky, expensive, and mostly used by wealthy professionals. If you were a business person back then, your pockets were full. A pager for messages, a phone for calls, a paper planner for your schedule, and maybe a digital assistant for notes. Everything was separate. Then came an idea: what if one device could do everything? A major technology company saw this problem and decided to solve it. They partnered with telecom providers and engineers to build something completely new. The project had a simple goal: combine communication, organization, and computing into one portable device. When this invention was revealed to the world, people didn't even have a name for it yet, but they were looking at the future. Now let's talk about the device itself. By today's standards, it was massive, heavy, thick, built like a brick. It weighed over 0.5 kilogram. It was bulky and far from pocket-friendly. But the real magic was on the front. There were no physical buttons, no keypad, just a touch screen. In a time when most people still used traditional phones, this was almost unbelievable. The screen wasn't like modern ones. It required pressure, so you had to use a stylus to interact with it. Inside, it had a processor, memory, and storage just like a computer. Because that's exactly what it was, a computer that could make phone calls. At the time, this level of integration was unheard of. It wasn't just a phone, it was something entirely new. So what made it smart? The answer is simple: software. It came with built-in tools that we now use every single day. A calendar to manage your schedule, an address book for contacts, a calculator, a note-taking system. It even had a touch-screen keyboard that could predict what you were typing. But that's not all. It could send emails. And even more impressively, it could send messages and documents wirelessly. You could write or draw something using the stylus and send it instantly, at a time when most communication was still physical or wired. This was revolutionary, and here's the most surprising part. It supported external applications. Users could expand its features using special hardware cards. Plug them in, and the device gained new capabilities. In many ways, this was the earliest version of an app ecosystem. With all this innovation, why didn't it take over the world? The answer comes down to 3 major problems. First, battery life. Modern phones last all day. This device lasted about 1 hour, just 1 hour. That meant constant charging and limited usability. Second, the price. It was extremely expensive, far beyond what most people could afford. It wasn't designed for everyday users, only for a small group of professionals. Third, the network. The internet barely existed in a usable form. Data speeds were slow. There were no modern apps, no streaming, no browsing as we know it today. The world simply wasn't ready. As a result, very few units were sold. And within a short time, the device disappeared from the market. The idea was brilliant, but the timing was wrong. Even though it failed commercially, its impact was massive. It proved something important. A phone could be more than just a phone. It could be a personal assistant, a communication hub, a portable computer. Years later, when technology improved, others built on that same idea. Better batteries, faster processors, stronger networks. Eventually, the vision became reality. What once seemed impossible became something we now carry in our pockets every day. That early device may have been clunky and imperfect, but it laid the foundation for everything that followed. It was the first step toward the modern smartphone. Today, we look back at it as a relic, but every time you send a message, check your calendar, or use a touch screen, you're experiencing the evolution of that original idea. So here's a question for you. If you were living in the 90s, would you have bought the world's first smartphone, even with all its limitations? Or would you have waited for the future? Let us know your answer. If you enjoy discovering the origins of modern technology, stay connected for more stories like this. Because history isn't just about the past. It's about understanding how the future was built.